Your bitch ass up. Stop saying my motherfucking name. Don't think cause a nigga trying to change that, man. Y'all niggas sit down.
To a lot of youth in different cities that you stopped at, what's your take, because I think you've been early on this, on, 21 Savage had the streets movement that he kind of has been promoting these last...
I don't even fuck like that. I am the streets, I love the streets, I come from the streets. I ain't gonna know that pussy ass shit.
When the streets started buzzing about 21 Savage finally pulling the curtain back on NBA YoungBoy, it wasn't some random internet noise or clout-chasing moment. It felt calculated, heavy, and way more personal than people expected. This wasn't a diss track dropped at midnight or a vague tweet meant to stir drama. This was 21 speaking in that calm, icy tone that hits harder than yelling ever could. Folks who really listen to how 21 moves know he doesn't talk just to hear himself. So when he started addressing certain situations, people leaned in fast. The message came off like, I've been watching, I've been patient, but now it's time to clear the air. And that alone sent shockwaves through the culture. What made it even crazier was how he didn't name drop right away, but the clues were loud enough that everybody knew exactly who he was talking about. He spoke on loyalty being thin, respect being fake, and how some artists play both sides until the mask slips. That hit close to home for fans who followed the uneasy energy between camps for a minute now. The streets remember how both of them came up, different paths, different pain, but both carrying that raw edge that made them stars. 21 painted this picture of someone letting fame twist their judgment, moving reckless and forgetting who stood solid when the lights weren't so bright.
Rapper King Von and his group were at Opium nightclub before making their way here to Monaco Hookah Lounge, then to the parking lot where chaos ensued.
He didn't sound angry, he sounded disappointed, which honestly made it feel even more serious. That tone told people this wasn't entertainment. This was frustration built over time. Social media exploded because everyone started replaying old interviews, lyrics, and moments that suddenly made sense. Fans started saying, wait, remember when this happened? And that bar hits different now. It felt like one of those moments where the past and present crashed together. 21 also touched on how the industry loves chaos, how labels smile while artists self-destruct, and how some people lean into that instead of protecting their legacy. That was a slick jab that didn't need names attached. He made it clear that moving smart matters more than moving loud, and that survival in this game isn't just about numbers or fan loyalty, it's about discipline. The wild part is how he kept stressing growth, maturity, and accountability, almost like he was drawing a line between how he chose to evolve and how others stayed stuck in the same cycle. People took that as a direct contrast to NBA YoungBoy's constant turbulence, legal issues, and non-stop beefs. The streets started debating whether this was 21 trying to warn him or expose him, and that question alone kept the conversation on fire. He also hinted that some bridges can't be rebuilt once trust is broken, and that sentence had folks rewinding like, hold up, what really went down behind closed doors? The vibe wasn't threatening, but it was firm, like a door quietly closing instead of being slammed. By the end of it, listeners felt like they just heard a man draw boundaries in real time. No yelling, no insults, just cold truths laid out plain. That's what made it hit so hard, and why people started saying, this isn't rap beef, this is real life tension. What really turned the heat up was how the conversation didn't die down after that first wave. It actually got louder and messier by the hour. Fans, bloggers, and industry insiders started digging deep, and suddenly every move NBA YoungBoy made felt like it was under a microscope. Old clips resurfaced where his mood shifted mid-interview, lyrics where he hinted at betrayal, and moments where alliances looked shaky in hindsight. People began saying this wasn't about one comment or one situation, but a long trail of tension that finally reached its breaking point. Meanwhile, 21 Savage stayed cool and quiet, which somehow made everything feel even more intense. That silence spoke volumes, like he had already said what needed to be said and wasn't interested in feeding the chaos. The streets rate that as confidence, like someone who knows the truth doesn't need to keep repeating it. On the other side, YoungBoy's name stayed trending because his energy has always been unpredictable, emotional, and raw. And fans expect explosions, not reflection. Supporters jumped in defending him, saying his pain is real, his struggles are public, and the pressure he lives under isn't something most people could handle. Others weren't buying it, saying pain doesn't excuse burning bridges or turning every disagreement into a war. That split reaction only made the situation feel heavier, like the culture itself was arguing about accountability versus survival. Some people felt 21 was speaking from a place of growth, trying to show that there's another way to move without crashing out. Others felt it came off like judgment, even if it was calm and controlled. The wild part is how this whole situation exposed how differently artists handle fame when it comes fast and hits hard. One chooses distance, structure, and quiet moves, while the other lives loud, emotional, and unfiltered, and that contrast became impossible to ignore. Industry voices started chiming in, hinting that labels love the noise but hate the consequences when things go too far. There were whispers about missed business opportunities, strained collaborations, and doors quietly closing behind the scenes. Fans started realizing that this wasn't just about personal feelings, it was about careers, money, and long-term survival in a game that doesn't forgive mistakes easily. The streets also picked up on how 21 kept stressing self-control, almost like he was warning younger artists watching all this unfold. That message hit because it felt bigger than one person, more like a lesson wrapped inside drama. At the same time, YoungBoy's camp energy stayed defensive, like they felt attacked from all angles, which only added to the sense that this situation was far from over. Every post, every lyric drop, every move started feeling like a response, even when nothing was said directly. People began asking if this was the start of a deeper divide in the culture, where artists who evolve separate themselves from those still stuck in constant chaos. The tension didn't feel manufactured, it felt personal, layered, and unresolved. What really shook fans was the idea that respect in the industry doesn't always come from numbers or noise, but from how you move when nobody's watching. 21's approach made people rethink what strength actually looks like, while YoungBoy's reaction reminded everyone how fragile things can get when emotions stay unchecked. By the end of the day, nobody felt like this story was finished. It felt like the opening of a longer chapter. The streets were left watching closely, knowing one wrong move, one reckless comment could turn this cold tension into something way uglier.